What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of PWI Presents FaceTurn. I am your host, Candace Cordelia, and we have another really special interview in honor of NWA's upcoming Crockett Cup tournament. Today's guests, you know them as The End. I have Odinson and Parrow. Welcome to the show, guys. It's so nice to have you here.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate you asking us to come on.
Yep, we're happy to be here.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here too. You know, I have, and like so many others watching, including myself, huge fans of The End, huge fans of both of you gentlemen. You know, this Crockett Cup, it's a prestigious tournament. You know, a lot of people are looking forward to it this year, especially as we are coming out of the throes of the pandemic. So for you both, what does it mean to be a part of the Crockett Cup for NWA this year?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for us, it's a big deal. As you know, we've participated in the All Japan tournament, and we're the only team in the tournament that has competed in that tournament. Others have competed in New Japan's tag tournament, but we take pride in history of tournaments. And NWA and All Japan have a tight bond in history. And the first thing I told Billy at NWA 70 was I did not want to be a singles wrestler. What I wanted to be was a tag team wrestler with Odinson, because to me, tag team wrestling is special. And the Crockett Cup is history in tag team wrestling. And being able to win that puts you in a different stratosphere for tag teams. You know, a lot of people could say this belt, this belt, this belt. But, you know, there's not a lot of tag team tournaments that exist today in wrestling. You know, tag team, unfortunately, with a lot of promoters, they try to separate the guys in the larger promotions, as we can see with WWE and stuff, and mixed match tag teams. We're a classic tag team. We are together. Our moves are together. We travel the world together. We're the old school. We're brothers. And Billy pointed that out during the thing. Is any conversation he had with us, we told them we do not want to be broken up. We want to win the tournament, and we also want the NWA belts, and we want to reunite them with the All Japan tag belts. We want to create history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, he basically covered it all. I mean, that's always been the goal since we've been to New Japan, and even since before that, since we've been a tag team. We've always talked about the NWA belts, and then obviously going to All Japan and competing for the All Japan belts. Like, we always thought that would be cool to do the crossover once again, because nobody's done that in a very long time. And the two promotions have always worked together. So doing that again, I think, would be a very nostalgic moment for people, and it would be a huge thing for wrestling.
Absolutely. So it sounds as though if you should win the Crockett Cup, you're going to take it to All Japan. I don't know if I'm, just putting that into the universe myself. Sounds like that would be a goal for you both.
Our goal, because of the pandemic, we weren't able to return to All Japan this year. We were actually almost on the flight, and unfortunately, the second wave of the pandemic happened, and we weren't able to return, just like many people, just like many Americans. And we want to use the tournament to. As a lot of people know, we haven't had a lot of success in NWA, as you know, from one way or another. But when NWA restarted the reboot after the pandemic, we were the only tag team besides Kratos and Aaron, the only tag teams on that show. And the one thing we said to NWA is like, bring us more tag teams. We want more competition. Because NWA is known for their tag teams. So being able to win the tournament and then challenge La Rebellion to get those titles and reunite them is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Plus, I'm into making history. That's why I want to be part of NWA. Currently, I am the only openly gay wrestler on the roster, and I would be the first openly gay champion ever. So, and in both countries. So it's not, NWA makes history. We need to get past the nostalgia part and start making history again. It's kind of like the University of Notre Dame. University of Notre Dame has a lot of history, right? Because they continuously make history. NWA needs to start moving forward and making history again instead of reliving history. You know, our job as NWA and as competitors is to turn the Crockett Cup into something special every year. And every participant in this tournament has that responsibility to show the people that we're some of the best tag teams in the world. And you want to be here. It's a privilege and an honor to be part of the tournament. Not just, oh, we're in the tournament. No, it's a big deal. And if you win this tournament, it's historic. No matter who wins it, it's a big deal. You know, for the Briscoes, it would be a big deal. It would be a little notch on their belt. La Rebellion, who is already champions. And for anybody else that's in this tournament, winning it is such an honor.
I love the fact that you've started this interview out, both of you, talking about the history of this event and the history of NWA. And one question that I really wanted to ask you both in terms of history are about tag teams. You know, now in 2022, a lot of fans are really clamoring to see more tag team wrestling. What are your thoughts about the state of tag team wrestling in general at this time in wrestling history?
I'll let you go first.
I think that it needs to be more prominent. It needs to be more main event. There was a time when tag team matches were the main event night after night because of the clash of styles, the different opponents. That's what people want to see. They want to see a difference of styles, not same people facing the same people. And that's what makes us a great tag team, is that we're not the same person. We're different in that aspect, like much different, rather than being twins and wearing the exact same gear and like, oh, like we're two different guys, but we're on the same page. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
As I'd like to say, we're a classic tag team. And what I mean by that is that we work together as a team. That's what a tag team does. Our old school tag teams were especially cool because you had people that were totally different working as a unit and making their moveset go together. The problem with tag team wrestling that we've gone into is two singles wrestlers doing their singles moveset. What people want and what the rebirth of tag team wrestling is, people working as a team. The Young Bucks do it extremely well. AEW does very well with it. There's prominent tag teams in WWE that have done it, like the Usos. At the same time, those guys are all kind of the same guy. Yeah.
Like they're the same person. The Young Bucks, the Usos, they're kind of interchangeable. Whereas we're two different styles that work together. So it's different. I feel like that's what tag team is. Not that that's bad or anything, but it's just that feels like the normal.
I'll explain the difference. Mm-hmm. When he gets in the ring, he's much quicker paced than I am. He is obviously more athletic than I am, but I am more violent than he is, and I slow the match down. So when I get into the ring, we always argue about that. When I say we're like brothers, we're literally fight like brothers. We argue like brothers. If you ever watch us backstage, people are terrified of us backstage because we hype each other up. It's a big deal to us to be part of a tag team. And we like to work the best. We're not the tag team that goes out there and be like, oh, just give us anybody. No, if you're the best, we want you. Because if you beat the best, you become the best. And that's what we want. But if there isn't a tag team, if people aren't tag teams, who do we face? So we can't get better if there isn't other people working to be tag teams. And tournaments like the Crockett Cup make people want to be tag teams again, if that makes sense. Because like I said at the beginning of the show, other promotions you don't need to be like, let me give you Top Star versus Top Star. You guys work together, or you could do some comedy. I don't care. We'll just throw that in the mid card because we have tag belts. Whereas almost everybody in that tournament isn't a tag team champion. There's only two people in that tournament that are current champions. Mm-hmm. One is the Briscoes and the other is La Rebellion. And we will beat both of them. Mm-hmm. I will tell you that right now. They know this. We have told that to their face. We will get to them. And honestly, we're a little disrespected that we got ranked number 8 in the tournament. When people like the Pope and Mims, who have never been a tag team, are ranked higher than us. I get Luke Hawx and his son, who are just below us, that's great. But a father and son tag team, they just became a tag team. We've been traveling the world together.
And we've already beat them in a tournament before.
Yeah, so that's another thing is the only other tournament we've had this year, we won.
Mm-hmm.
We had to go through everybody else, and we won. We've never been ranked number one at NWA, but we seem to always get back to the title spot. So,
seems like we are going to make that happen again.
Hey, well, you know what? Let's get into Hawks Airy because I was going to transition into that anyway. So you gave me a really good lead in. I've already talked to both gentlemen. And, like you said, there is history there. What are your thoughts about being or going up against them for the opening round? And, given the history that you have, what are you thinking about going into it now for the Crockett Cup for this year?
Great warm-up match. Honestly, I it's not that I disrespect them, but I'm looking to win this tournament, and I'm looking to make a statement in the first match. Billy said I was unhinged in his interview. I'm not unhinged. I'm pissed. There's a difference. I want to win. I want to show him to give us the opportunities, and we will succeed. I don't discredit the fact that Luke Hawx is a very, very seasoned independent wrestler, but he's not a seasoned tag team wrestler. His son is green as grass. And why we beat them before, and we beat Luke. We didn't beat his son. So, if you go by the strategy of Luke is leading the way, we took Luke out.
We already have them figured out.
And we're looking for La Rebellion. And then after La Rebellion, we're looking for whoever comes out of that other bracket, whether it's Doug and Harry or whoever else is down there. And then we're looking for whoever comes out of that other side of the tournament. And it's not being a disrespectful thing to Luke Hawx or his son. I think they're amazingly talented individuals. Anybody that steps in an NWA ring is. That is said no matter what. You don't get to this level without having some kind of talent under your belt. Nobody on the roster is terrible. That is a terrible thing, a concept to say. But if you're an athlete going into a competition and thinking that you can't win, then you shouldn't be here. Everybody we step into the ring with, we think we can beat. It's just how fast can we beat them?
Mm.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah, the passion that you both have for the sport, for being a tag team, wrestling, NWA, it's so palpable. And that's what we love to see. When it comes to Mr. Corgan, who it seems as though he's really brought NWA to greater heights within the past several years, what is some of the most valuable advice that you've received from him?
You want to go first?
Go ahead.
Well, I
know you.
Well, as you can see, I do a lot of the talking. I'm the talker out of the group. But Billy says patience. Patience with everything. He knows that we're starting up. We're reviving a company that was almost dead. So he preaches to us patience when it comes to, because as you can see, we want it now. And, it's not a bad thing, but we feel as though we're the kind of tag team that wants to go. He's trying to teach us that we need to understand the vision for the future and be patient with what is happening. Because as he said to us before, remember you said I had to bring in tag teams. I brought in tag teams, but things take time. And that's a huge valuable lesson to us, because with me is I like things now. And, in wrestling, you always feel like everything's moving so fast. Everything changes so fast in wrestling. Like tomorrow there'll be somebody buys some company. It's whether we can establish our link with the fan. And Billy's a rock star. So he thinks like a rock star, which sometimes is better. He's not thinking like a pro wrestler. He's thinking like what would a rock show, like what can I give the fan to come invest in NWA? And that's why we're at NWA. We like the ability to be able to talk to our owner without going through 37 different people to have to talk to an owner.
That's a great point. Yeah. It's nice to just go to Billy and talk to him like a normal person. Like, it doesn't feel like we're like, oh, sorry, I need to ask a question. Like, it's just like, hey, Billy, can we talk for a second? Okay, cool. We have these ideas. Like, okay, yeah. And like, it's super easy and cool. And he's just so chill and just easy to work with. But yeah, he has taught us to, like, it's storytelling. It's a slow burn. We're making things mean something. So everything's not going to happen. Boom, 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 boom. But being able to go and speak with him about things so easily is one of the greatest things about being there.
It's the first, sure. It's honestly the first thing he told us. He came up to us and said, to us personally, he said, because we asked permission to talk to him, and he laughed at that. And he's like, you never have to ask permission to talk to me. He's like, I want to know what you're thinking. And I will always say the cool thing about Billy is anytime we get on the mic, he doesn't tell us what to say. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it could be a total garbage fire, but he doesn't restrict us. He wants he likes that old
authenticity,
the old school authenticity about wrestling. That's what NWA was known for. Your Dusty Rhodes, your Ric Flairs, your Arn Andersons, the LOD, like those guys were authentic when they talked. And that's what he looks for. And he always tells you, what do you want? It's not what I want. It's what I'm going to give you the match, but it's not what I want. It's what you're going to entertain the fan with. Like, what is your sport? Like, he's more of a coach than a boss.
A director. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Instead of everything, hey, this is what we need, but you guys go about it. You guys do it your way. Yeah, which is, I think, important in wrestling.
It's that creative freedom, and some people like it and some people don't. So it's
some people need to be told what to do. I get it.
Right.
But I personally like the fact where he trusts us to take a live microphone and talk in front of an audience.
And I trust him enough to say, like, if it was garbage, to be like, no, that was garbage, do it again. Like, okay, like, that's fair too. But at least give us the chance to say what we need to say in our own way.
And we have the luxury at NWA to have historic agents backstage. We have Medusa. She just doesn't do women. Like, she's not just the women's agent. Like, we have Homicide. We have Jazz. We have Raven. We have Raven. We have so many, Pat Kenny, we have so many people backstage to pick their brain about what, Ricky Morton's there. Come on. If you have a tag team question, I think like,
he's the guy to ask.
I think you could ask him a question. And the cool thing about our veterans is you can talk to them without being scolded. Of like,
or so intimidated,
or why are you talking to us, kid? It's like, or some locker rooms, stars have their own locker. You can't go near them. You can't talk to them. That's not NWA. You're all together in NWA. Like, whether
you like each other or not.
Yeah, they treat it like a family, and especially how NWA used to be, and because we're only going to succeed together. And that's the God's honest truth. This is a vicious business with so many independent companies coming up and so many great talent out there that we only can succeed to have fans come to choose us, because there's so many options for fans to choose. They can choose any wrestling company. It's a privilege for them to come invest in us. And we have to remember that sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry, Odinson. I'm going to get to you with a question.
Oh, no. If I have something to say, I'll say it.
I just want to bring up, because I'm hearing a lot about representation, which is fantastic. You know, it's Women's History Month. Parrow, you just mentioned working with Medusa and Jazz, which is just phenomenal. You know, for you as an openly gay wrestler in this sport, you recently tweeted something that I thought was equally fantastic. And you mentioned how you wanted to see more LGBTQIA representation in the back, you know, in the ring, but especially in the back, whether it's producing, booking, agenting, etc. Could you please expand on that? Because I think that's really important, especially in 2022, to analyze.
So what people don't understand is the writing backstage is written by veterans or people in the business, but they're predominantly straight males. Whether they're in LA or not, they don't know what it's like to be gay. They do not know what it's like to walk in a locker room and feel uncomfortable. They do not know what it's like to be the only gay person on a roster and have to explain what gay is because of all the misconceptions and dogmas that our straight community has been taught over the years. And, you know, even 5 years ago, there was only one person of color on a show. God forbid we had one women's match. On good shows, ROH, Evolve, all the top companies had maybe one woman match. You know, that was 5 years ago. That's not that long ago. You know, so right now I say the problem with being an open wrestler, we're on the token gay stage. And what I mean by that is, yes, gay people are getting opportunities to be hired, but they're getting opportunities to be hired to more or less make the fan happy rather than treating us like legitimate athletes. The one big thing when I came out, I want to be the representation I needed to see when I was young. Not every gay person, not every woman, not every person of color represents the whole community. We are extremely diverse. We have extremely different opinions, and we represent different people. The problem with having non-representation backstage, it's very hard to explain to somebody what you're trying to do because they think you should be happy to be there. And they're not doing it in so much of a negative way. Like, Billy's the first promoter that ever asked me how I should be portrayed. The first promoter, and I've worked for a lot of promoters. He's the first person. And he even said, he's like, well, I don't look at you as gay. And I said, that's disrespectful. And he said, and he didn't mean it to be disrespectful, but I said, that's a part of me. And it will always be a part of me. It's something that took me so long to come to grips with. I almost killed myself or tried to kill myself over it. So saying that you don't view me as something that took my whole life, but having people backstage that understand that viewpoint, and it's hard to write gay storylines if everybody's straight and there's no gay people on the roster. So it's very hard to write those stories. So I would like to see in just TV, sports, people backstage that understand what it's like. It's very hard to put yourself in a person's shoes with just descriptions. You know, I don't know what it's like to be a person of color. But I do know what it's like to be a gay man in a sports world. You know, it's very, and a super masculine world where the new homophobia is not talked about. A lot of straight men don't like losing to gay people in all of sports. It's not wrestling. This is just in general statement because they're told for some reason growing up, gay is weak because they're told women are weak. This weird joke is like, for straight men liking women so much, they do a lot not to like them. like I was like, guys, they're not strong enough. They're not smart. They're not this. They're not equal pay. And you're like, what are you doing? Like, apparently they've never been to a CrossFit because all those women could kick my ass. But that's the thing is like having representation backstage that understand and have been through all of that. You have to remember for women, Medusa was one of the first. And one of the first to make a statement that I want to be paid well. This is who I am. This is how I want to be represented. You know, that's a big deal back in the day. And right now, there's a lot of superly awesome, talented people all over the globe that are LGBTQ IA plus. But right now, look at television. Do we get to win? We're sidekicks in every movie. We're always portrayed as weaker than our straight counterpart. And that's what I like being part of him. He had when I came out, and I'm just at this. When I came out, I gave him the choice to leave me. And he stayed. He stayed with me. He stayed through all the hardships. Our booking changed. We went from being the most dominant people getting hired to being relegated to not even having matches. You know, he went through all I went through. So when I say things as a gay man, people will look back and be like, oh, he's just saying that because this is how he feels that he's gay. And it's not like that. Look at this person. Look at this person. Look at this person. He went through it. He's a straight man. He's been through promoters telling me I should have a crush on him. I'm not gay enough. Can I be gayer? Maybe you should go behind and wiggle your butt on your opponent. These are all real things that promotions have asked me. Promotions have asked him to leave me because I'm holding his career back. So when I say representation is important, it's very important. And it's very important to understand there's always positives, discussion. I'm always big on discussion. I hate when my way or the highway. I don't believe in that. And I don't believe in persecuting somebody that years ago said the word that said the F word or was homophobic because they haven't had the time to get that opportunity to learn. Now, after I teach you and you do those things, then we have a problem. But that's the whole backstage thing. If there's nobody in the locker room, they're going to make decisions without you. It's just like the don't say gay bill or the trans bill. There's no representation in the room. So of course that idea sounds great to a whole bunch of straight white men. They're like, this idea sounds great because nobody's in the room to tell them no. This is a terrible idea. And wrestling needs that. Wrestling needs to hire a lot of open writers, a lot of women. They definitely need women's writers. That is zero. They need women's writers. They need people of color. They need gay writers. It will change the show because I've always been big on diversity makes controversy, makes cash. If everybody's the same wrestler, if everybody's 50-50, then what's interesting about that? Mm-hmm. Diversity is important. Wrestling has always represented life.
But if everybody's not represented.
And if everybody's not represented anymore, then what's it matter? Wrestling has always been powerful in social change. They've always been in the forefront. Whether it's a black champion, a woman's revolution, it's 2020. It's time for gay people to go up. We can be top stars. We just need the opportunity to show you. And that's all we're asking. We're not asking you to make it happen. We're asking you to give us the opportunity to show you that we can do this. And sometimes, it feels like you have the weight on the world on your shoulders, for a lot of us, because 5 years ago, there was only a handful of us that came out. Now we have 2,800 worldwide, which is awesome. But, if those, I always look in the locker room at a big gay brunch and just smile and kind of tear up because it's people being happy in the locker room and feeling comfortable. Because trust me, I know what it's like walking into a locker room and knowing nobody wants you there. And it's just because of your sexuality, which a year earlier when nobody knew it, hey, we love you, you're awesome. And then all of a sudden that attitude changes. And you'd be surprised of the people that did it. So, his turn.
Thank you for being you, Parrow. Thank you so much. Odinson, having heard all of that, my question for you is, what or how really has it been working with Parrow in terms of how he's helped you as a wrestler and even outside of the ring to really become a stronger athlete, but also someone who is a stronger individual?
Well, yeah, like you said, like he came out right after we started tagging, and he told me, like, it was just like after a show, like he was talking to like somebody and they were talking about like a gay bar or something. And then he just started to me, he's like, oh yeah, like I'm gay. And I'm like, okay. He's like, yeah, like some people, don't like it. I'm like, okay. Like it wasn't an issue, but then going through everything, like I could see like it is an issue for some people. Like it really is. And it feels like I'm in a weird spot because I don't know when I'm supposed to say something and when I'm supposed to not, like as far as like how's like everything changing for us and everything. Like things changed, yeah. But like as far as us working together and everything, like I saw everything he went through and I experienced some of it, and it is a real thing. But like as a tag team, like we've done so many things together, like going to All Japan, competing in the tag league tournaments. I mean, when we do that, we're together 5 weeks on the road every day, 4 or 5 days a week wrestling.
And I get annoying.
Yeah. We argue, we fight. Like we've been in the streets of Japan yelling at each other and we have to realize like, oh, we're scaring everybody. Like we need to stop. Like, so it's we're not always on the same page, but when we're in the ring, we always know what the other is doing. And that's something that kind of was natural for us and kind of just clicked. But at the same time, we are competitive in that way where it's like, okay, he got a big pop just doing a chop and I have to slam a dude 10 times and get the same reaction. So it's like, we're trying to outreact each other like that. And being in Japan was really important for us as far as learning and growing. Like we did a tag league tournament. We didn't win it. We were top like 3, I think. And then the next time we went over, we competed for the tag team championship belts. So being on that tour was a totally different experience because it was all leading up to a tag team championship. So it was like we had 2 guys in our sights instead of the whole roster. So it's just like all these different experiences. Like we learn from each other. We learn what each other are like, what each other like are good at, what each other are bad at. And like, obviously I've learned from his experience. I've gone through it. Like, we went to Japan. It was an issue for a minute. And, we just like, he's not attracted to all you guys. It's okay. Like, like that happens with a lot of people. And it's just like, that's not a thing. Like, don't worry about that. But then, we just have to learn how to get past things, like that. And like me being with him, I think like, well, that's the thing. He's not a stereotypical gay person either. So that kind of throws people off. So it's a whole thing we've had to go through and learn from. And like, we've learned a lot. And like, as a tag team, we've learned a lot. And like you said, we would have been back in Japan at least 2 more times, since the pandemic happened. And, that's our goal still is get back there, win the belts there, win the belts here. And just imagine holding all 4 of those belts. So that like the image of that, like it would be insane. So that's our ultimate goal.
But it is funny though. My husband calls him my second husband because I only talk to 2 guys in my life.
I'm your road wife. I hear that from other wrestlers. I'm your road wife. I'm like, whoa.
Well, let's be honest. He was in my wedding. I bring him to gay bars with me. I always have a rule on the road. Is if I have to do straight things, you have to do some gay things. And it's like, we're not just tag team out in the ring.
Oh yeah. Every city we're in, we'll go to a gay bar one of the nights and, do that whole experience. And at first, it's uncomfortable and it's weird, but then it becomes very just like, it's just like any other thing. Like just get over it. Like it's,
I laughed online once that somebody called him homophobic and I'm like, he's doing a terrible job at it. He's doing a terrible job. They're like, he's homophobic. And I'm like, he was literally in my wedding, like in my wedding party. I was like, I don't know, guys, but I'm going to tell you right now, that is pretty not homophobic. Like, he's doing a terrible job. It's like, you should have just said, no, don't let them get married. But it's one of those things is like, we've learned to grow together. And we've all been, he's been through a lot with me, and I've been through a lot with him outside the ring, personal issues too. So, and we help each other grow. There's a lot of days where I am sad. I am frustrated with the business. I do feel like I should be farther. I do feel a lot of times I held him back because of what I did. But on the other hand, I wouldn't be happy and nobody would see my husband. And it takes a lot for him to not leave me, and I do know that. That's why this tournament is so important to both of us. We want to prove to each other this journey together is worth it. A lot of people,
and that tag team wrestling matters. It's important. Like, tag team wrestling it's the contrast of styles. It's people working together. It's different than everything else.
It's harder. It's harder than a singles match.
People think it's easier because you're in a singles match, you're in the ring the whole time, but it's like, that doesn't matter. Like, you have to be looking out for multiple guys, like the rules, everything. And it's not easier. That's for sure. Like, tag team wrestling is something that we've had to, every place we've gone has different rules and everything. And we've had to adapt to everything. And we've adapted to the NWA rules, which are more strict than others. And at this point, we have that on lock. Like, we know what we're doing. And as far as Hawk Aries, like, we already beat them. We already have them on lock. We've only gotten better. So there's no way that they're going to beat us at the Crockett Cup.
What is the legacy the End wants to leave behind in wrestling?
We want to be the greatest tag team ever. I know a lot of people say that. I know FTR says that every day. I know the Briscoes say it. But we're just touching base now. Remember, they didn't get held back. We were held back. So what happens when we're no longer held back? The sky's the limit. This is something we want to do. We have committed to being a tag team. We're not pursuing singles careers. We occasionally wrestle singles once in a while. That's just how wrestling is. Every tag team does it. They occasionally wrestle. But this is what we are. This is who we are. There's not many tag teams out there that can claim to do what we've already done, and that's being limited. I don't think people understand how hard it is to get to All Japan as an American and to earn their respect.
And to go back multiple times for championships. I don't think people understand the tournaments we've done, the belts we've held, the companies we've worked for, because every time we get hot, it feels cold water's thrown on us. But that's a personal opinion, and I'm sure every wrestler feels that way at one point or another in their career. But we do really feel we haven't even tapped the potential of what we're able to do, what I'm able to represent. For me as an openly gay man to hold a belt in a company that historically had no gay wrestlers and were known as the Southern promotion. It's a big deal. Whether people believe it or not, there's a little boy at home that will want to be a tag team wrestler because of that. And that will change the future. And that's what history is all about. People look at history because those guys changed something about the business. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change something about the business. That's what history in the business is. It's great to be part of a historic company, but the whole point of a historic company I keep going back to is making history. And I feel as though we're able to do that. We chose to be at NWA. We emailed and emailed and emailed. I bugged Billy to let us in. And he let me do a singles match. And I told him that at NWA 70, all I care about is the one thing I want. And what did I tell you what I want? Those tag team belts.
I've always wanted the NWA tag team belts.
Mm-hmm.
Always. And if winning the Crockett Cup means I'm one step closer to us making history, then so be it. And it's a historic tournament. And another historic tournament we can write down and go down in history as the greatest tag team. You can't say you're the greatest tag team if you didn't take part of historic tournaments. All you are is future. That's great. You won a WWE belt or you won an AEW belt. That's great. I'm very proud of you, and you deserve all the accolades that come with it. Here's your flowers. But this is the era of the business where you can work anywhere. And hopefully the Crockett Cup will open doors for many people that are in the tournament, because there's a lot of people that are in the tournament that deserve to be seen also. I know the interview's about us, but every opponent in there is worthy of being in the tournament. They earned it, whether people like it or not, whether we like it or not. They earned being there. That's the respect we will show them. But we plan to beat the living crap out of Hawks and Airy.
Yeah, so that's the legacy. It's just, we want to be known as an historic tag team that beats the crap out of other tag teams. And we travel the world. We traveled to Japan. We won those championships. We won the most prestigious championships in America, and we united them. And we became the most feared tag team in the world. The Road Warriors reborn, for lack of a better term, because nobody's been like them since them. And that's the kind of aura and that's the kind of legacy that we are going to leave.
But I will say this, we are not them.
No.
And I don't want people to confuse the two, because a lot of people try to recreate them. We're not trying to recreate them. Except I will say with our finish, I did ask permission from Animal to do that finish, because we have respect for the business. And at NWA 70, I walked up to him and I asked him if we could do a version of his finish. And he laughed. He goes, well, everybody else seems to do it without ever asking. And I said, well, sir, we're not that tag team. And he smiled and he goes, yes, you could do that. He goes, just don't make it suck. And I hope everybody seems to like it. And we changed it to be a little different. We didn't like the Doomsday device. That's theirs. We changed it just a little to do our little spin on something, a nod to history. And I hate when people are like, oh, we're not trying to be the Road Warriors. That was them. They're different people. But just like in sports, everybody's compared to everybody. There's always going to be a quarterback compared to Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning. We're just compared to the more rougher tag teams, as you could say. We're never going to be a finesse tag team. I'm not going to do an arm bar. I'm
right.
Sorry. A wrist lock, that is somebody else. You want to chain wrestle? You got Doug Williams. He will chain wrestle you to death. But I'm going to power bomb you against a wall and ask you to get up. So
I love it. I really love it. And thank you both so much, Odinson and Parrow. This has been fantastic meeting you, talking with you. And I love the passion that you both show for the business and show for each other and for everyone else in NWA and in wrestling. It's really a joy to hear. And your support, I'm sure, means everything. Are there any last words that you want to tell our viewers before we log off?
Support the Crockett Cup, guys. Support NWA. Wrestling only succeeds when you support in any independent wrestling. And I always say this, you want change in wrestling, your support matters. Billion-dollar companies aren't going to change their belief system because you tweeted something. But if you come support independent wrestling and you show support for the wrestlers coming up and shows like NWA and that, you're going to change wrestling. So if you want continuously good wrestling, come support us. Watch us on YouTube. Watch us on Fight TV every Tuesday, 6:05. We do a all-inclusive package for $50. You can see every pay-per-view and get to be part of it. And the cool thing about NWA, we're very accessible. You're going to get to meet us. You come to a show, we will take time. We will sign anything you want. We'll talk your ear off. You can take as many pictures as us as you want. He loves posing and taking pictures. Look, he works out hours to do that. I just stand there and point my hand out. But he loves doing different poses. And we're a friendly show. You know, you can bring the whole family to see us. It's not a show that you have to be a certain age to go. My husband's 91-year-old grandmother came to watch us in St. Louis. It was her first wrestling event she's ever been to. She yelled the entire show, loved her life. She came downstairs, got to meet wrestlers, and the first thing she said to me was, she's like, I wish there was more blood. And I was like, okay, Graham, it's time for you to go home. And but so you could be in your 90s and you could be 5 years old. You're going to enjoy NWA.
Yeah. Watch that Crockett Cup, because that's what the future of tag team wrestling is going to be at this Crockett Cup. And the future looks a lot like these guys. So be prepared.
There it is. There it is. You all heard that from the end themselves, Odinson and Parrow. The Crockett Cup, March 19th and March 20th. If you aren't already jazzed to see it, I mean, you really have no excuse, because I think the end have spoken for all of us in saying how excited we are to watch the Crockett Cup. So you don't want to miss it. You can find more information about the Crockett Cup tournament on NWA's website, social media, the N social media accounts, Odinson and Parrow, and of course, my own Candace Cordelia on PWI. Once again, you have been watching PWI Presents FaceTurn with Candace Cordelia. I am your host, Candace Cordelia. Stay tuned for more exclusive interviews with your favorite wrestlers and more. Until next time, we'll see you later.